One of the most disgusting things that Hollywood does is that they use forced diversity as a scapegoat to blame fans for racism whenever they put out a very terrible product that fans are critical of. We see this time and time again. We've seen it with Star Wars, and now we are seeing it happening with Rings of Power right now. They are so desperate right now. Amazon is so desperate to try to paint the narrative around this terrible show that they have put out that it's because of racism, despite the fact that you can literally go to like Rotten Tomatoes and read audience reviews where it's not even mentioned. Most of the reviews are people saying, this isn't Tolkien. This isn't the world of Middle Earth.
Yep.
It's sad what's happening to Hollywood.
Yes.
It was a wonderful thing. It was a very American form of entertainment, and they are ruining it. And right now, Amazon is knee deep in ruining the life's work of J.R.R. Tolkien.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy. It's like you take a literary classic, and they're just doing like woke Mad Libs with it.
Yeah.
You know, you have characters. The black elf falls in love with the girl and milks the cow. It just makes no sense. Disney has a mandate now where half their characters have to be like trans, gay, woke, something.
Yeah.
Which really has me worried about the new Pinocchio. You know?
Yeah.
If it's half the characters, it's either Geppetto or the little boy.
I don't know. I just keep telling the kid to keep lying. I don't even know. What is wrong? What is wrong? What is wrong with this world?
There's one page on this particular paper was left blank. Glorious. Nothing to read, so I scribbled on it, I can't think why. In a hole in the ground there lived a hobbit. I think that was eventually published in 1937. I now wanted to try my hand at writing a really stupendously long narrative and to see whether I had sufficient art, cunning, or material to make a really long narrative which would hold the average reader right through. Let me say it once. Many people apply to nuclear, the ring, particularly the nuclear bomb, don't they? I think that was in my mind. The whole thing is only an allegory of it. Well, it isn't. One reviewer once said, this is a jolly jolly book, isn't it? All the right boys come home and they're always happy and glad. It isn't true, of course. You can't have read the story. If you really come down to any large story, it interests people, can hold them attention for a considerable time, or make stories, practically always, a human story is practically always about one thing, aren't they? Death. The inevitability of death.
Well, hello, kiddies. This is Victor, a.k.a. your friendly neighborhood watchman. And today we're talking about Amazon's sucky-ass Rings of Power, J.R.R. Tolkien, and his loyal and stalwart son, the late Christopher Tolkien, who would not sign off on this tripe. So here's an article in the New York Post. It was quickly followed by a positive article. Some so-called critic who fell over themselves. Obviously, that critic is a fan of Wokian, not to be confused with Tolkien, for diversity's sake, to signal your virtue. In essence, what we call virtue signaling, these modern critics of Tolkien reach for the low-hanging fruit. They'll just accuse people that do not like or agree with the producers and others involved with these revisionist movies, films, and TV shows of being racist, misogynist, homophobe, you know, the usual foes and isms that they like to point fingers at. But you know, when you're pointing fingers as much as they do, they ignore the fact that there are three other fingers pointing right back at them. You see racism where none exists, that says more about you. To find something to be offended about says more about you and the decadence of our society. No longer do we have to worry about hunting and gathering to get our food, to sustain ourselves. Life is a lot easier in many respects. So we have to find things to occupy our time And some of us do that by trying to be popular and running with the herd and finding things to be falsely offended about. To virtue signal, as we mentioned earlier. So as I mentioned in my Lord of the Rings video, way back in February of this year, Tolkien wrote this as a mythology for his native country, which really had none of their own, not borrowed from other nation. I won't go into it here. It's been said there. So if you're interested, take a look in that video so as not to extend the time in this one and go over topics that I have addressed before. So Tolkien wasn't being a racist because he had no black people or people of color, as the left enjoys saying. I'm sure not everyone has the same exact type of skin tone, but whatever. He created a world, and in that part of the world, just like in this world, there are people of various cultures, different cultures, and skin colors, and other phenotypes, particular unto themselves, prior to being able to travel as we are able to now, technology having advanced. You get the drift. So anyway, I get off my soapbox and dive into this news article by Johnny Oleksinski, and I will be reading this for the first time with you, if you haven't already done so. The title is Cringeworthy Rings of Power has angry Lord of the Ring fan wanting to commit bloody Mordor. Okay. Furious. Lord of the Rings fans are shouting, "What the Elrond" today. Prime Video's new Lord of the Rings prequel TV series, The Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, debuted its first 2 episodes Thursday night, and hardcore Tolkien buffs aren't doing a happy jig down at the Prancing Pony. Well, I could see this writer, they're not taking this too seriously. All these Lord of the Rings puns, gotta fulfill his daily quota of bad puns, I guess. But the author of this is obviously what you would call a normie. He's not a fan. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't read any of Tolkien's books. But I digress. The Rings of Power, a $715 million gamble. Some reports say it cost $1 billion for Amazon's Prime Video streaming service, has scored a measly 37% audience rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with more than 2,800 user reviews so far. On the flip side, HBO's House of the Dragon has an 85% fan score. Yeah, well, most of that money is CGI and sets and costumes, I would reckon. I know the props. I mean, it can look great, but that's just aesthetics. People like me that take issue with wokeism aren't complaining about aesthetics. Nothing short of cringeworthy, wrote Eric S. of the show, that stars Morfydd Clark as Galadriel and Robert Aramayo as Elrond. The writing is worse than what you could expect to see on CW. It truly seems to have been written by a barely graduated high schooler that managed a C- average in creative writing. It's a smoldering dumpster fire. Can you tell us how you really feel, Eric? Uh-huh. Nice costume. I'll give credit there. At least from this photo, because I haven't seen the videos yet. I mean, I really don't want to, but if I'm forced to review it, I'll watch it. I'm talking about this article right now, but I won't critique something I won't watch, obviously. Visually, it was good, which is what we're talking about, aesthetics. But man, was the story slow-paced and dull, added a Matt L. Sadie S. was as unimpressed as Gollum being gifted a ring from K Jewelers. This was completely awful, very artificial looking with no heart. What a disgrace, she said. Sounds a lot like the Star Trek franchise, which has for far too long been under the control of Alex Kurtzman. Likewise, Star Wars and Kathleen Kennedy. These people that don't really know, don't understand the IP, the intellectual property, didn't grow up with it, don't love it, just use it as vehicles to push their political and social narratives. That's all. That's why these people never create their own original intellectual property. They always, like a parasite, invade a host organism and does its thing. Critics have been warmer to the big-budget fantasy series, of course, and it boasts an 83% critic approval rating on RottenTomatoes.com. Because most of us know Rotten Tomatoes is rotten. Their name is apropos, okay? That's been proven. have been accused many times. For the most part, there have been shills for the film studios and companies financing these movies. The article I mentioned earlier in the video that praised the show is mentioned right here. The author of that article, Lauren Sarner, raved, quoting Rings, a dazzling, gorgeous, thrilling trip to woke Middle Earth. But when it comes to fan reviews, the people that have read the material and are familiar with the history of Tolkien's world recognizes it all as Shire and Brimstone. For those of you over 17, you can replace Shire with Shite, and you'll be no worse for it, and it'll be closer to the truth. A few comments here. I have read Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, and Silmarillion, and Unfinished Tales. Woo! Join the club. The notes Professor Tolkien had compiled regarding the history of Numenor and the Second Age. This show is derivative, amateurish, fan service fiction at best. There are definite racial descriptions of the humans as well as the dwarves and elves, but this show ignores all that in the name of quote-unquote representation. The writers of this show might also complain that there are no black or Latino characters in a kung fu movie.
Donald J. Trump is now President of the United States.
That has never stopped people from all over the world from enjoying them. When shows and movies are written to further an agenda rather than entertain, the result is dismal, like this series, which is what I was trying to get across earlier before reading this article. You shall get a thumbs up from me. That was from Nimble Human Undefined. Next one up is from a Samson Bernard. I just tried to watch it, but I couldn't get past the first few minutes. A super intelligent girl making a ship out of cloth to go down a creek, and the bully is going, quote, even you can expect that to float, unquote, which he says, no, it will sail, unquote. And then, of course, she overpowers him, even though she's half his size, and goes to beat him, but her big brother stops her. Because, you know, that's the common trope nowadays in this modern woke psyches we are living in. Girl power and all that. The average man is stronger than the average woman. Period. It's biology. Oh, should I preface that with the average biological man is stronger than the average biological woman. Period.
I'd buy that for $1.
Back to Mr. Bernard's comment. Ah, yes, that's how I want to be introduced to this character. All amazing and better than others, and when a bully simply throws a rock at something, she resorts to pummeling him, because not only is she superior than him in mind, she is half his size, scrawny, yet stronger. Hard pass. Couldn't even make it past the first 4 minutes. Cause you got good taste there, buddy. And I'll slap you with a thumbs up. Cause I also have good taste. This isn't Tolkien. It's Tolkien. Ooh! Right there. Thumbs up. I mean, that's pretty nice. Complete with Mary Sue female lead. Woke race swapping. Hey! That's how we left this roll.
Excuse me, it's ma'am. It is ma'am.
I can call the police if you'd like me to. You need to settle down.
You need to settle down and mind your business.
Please! Jesus Christ.
Hackneyed dialogue, trying to sound Tolkien-esque. Yep, we know the type. I couldn't finish the entire episode. Well, your stomach couldn't stomach it, because your stomach's got class too. Huh? Well, folks, I won't go on reading. You could go on thousands of comments. So, you make up your mind. However, if you are truly objective, you will see that not every story needs to represent a particular skin color. It's okay. That's why I'm surprised the Northman was even made. I mean, if it was made by one of these fools, you know you would have seen some black Vikings in there. It's been done before. Come to the end of this video. The article wasn't very long, but that also makes for a brief video. And with so many people nowadays suffering from an attention deficit disorder, that's a little bit of alright then. So, if you like this video, then give this a thumbs up, comment if you wish, and like, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already, so that you will be signaled every time I drop another one of my videos. And as always, folks, stay safe, and I bid you peace.
This Strider, he says be more careful. I say let's start with him. How do we know he's from Gandalf? More like he's a play-acting spy working for them.
I don't know, Sam. I think one of the enemy's servants would, well, seem fairer and feel fouler, if you understand.
While I look foul and feel fair, is that it?
The Rings of Power has brought Middle-earth into the 21st century. No longer is this a world of men. Indeed, it is a world of women. All the main characters have estrogen in abundance. Take Galadriel, for instance.
Who are you?
A side character in the trilogy. Now she is the driving force through the whole saga. Strong, independent, and utterly brilliant. Where men err, she is right. Always right. Every idea, every solution works. Men who do not follow her lead themselves to the grave. She can cut through oceans like an ocean liner, climb mountains like Sly Stallone, and dunk more shots than Michael Jordan. Frodo and Sam, no. Now we have Nori Brandyfoot and Poppy Proudfellow. All the same characteristics, quirks, and mannerisms as the iconic duo, but now completely female. But a message to the world that racism is over.